Commander Hyunwoo stood at the bridge of Earth Defense Station Alpha and watched the stars through the massive viewing window. For 37 years, those same stars had been the limit of human exploration. Beyond the outer edge of the solar system lay an invisible wall that no human ship had ever crossed. The scientists called it a quantum barrier. The politicians called it protection. Hyunwoo called it a prison. The morning alarm broke his thoughts. Red lights flashed across every console as his communication officer Bo Ram rushed to her station. Her face went pale as she listened to her headset. She turned to face Hyunwoo with wide eyes. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission from outside the barrier," she said. Hyunwoo felt his heart skip. In 3 centuries of human space exploration, no signal had ever come from beyond their solar system. The barrier blocked everything, in both directions. He walked quickly to the communication station. "Are you certain it is from outside?" he asked. Boram nodded and pointed to her screen. The signal origin showed coordinates far beyond Pluto's orbit. She pressed a button and the message played through the bridge speakers. The voice was human, speaking clear Korean, but something about it seemed wrong. "Earth Defense Force, this is Captain Tae-min of the ship Soul's Pride. We have broken through the barrier. Repeat. We have escaped the containment field. The seals are breaking. Your people's true nature can no longer be hidden. Prepare for what comes next." The bridge fell silent. Hyunwoo knew every Earth ship by name and captain. There was no Soul's Pride in the fleet. There was no Captain Tae-min in Earth defense records, yet the voice sounded completely human. "Bo Ram, run a voice analysis," Hyunwoo ordered. "Check the ship registry database. Find out who Captain Tae-min is supposed to be." While Bo-Ram worked, Hyunwoo contacted Dr. So-young at the Science Institute on Mars. So-young had spent 15 years studying the barrier and the strange meteor showers that had been hitting Earth's outer colonies. If anyone could explain this impossible transmission, it would be her. So-young's face appeared on the main screen. Her laboratory was filled with rock samples and scanning equipment. Behind her, a large chart showed meteor impact patterns from the past decade. "Hyunwoo, I was about to contact you," So-young said. "Those meteors we have been tracking are not meteors at all. I finally got a complete scan of one that hit Europa Station last week. It is artificial. Someone has been dropping reconnaissance drones on our colonies for years." Hyunwoo felt cold fear spread through his chest. "Reconnaissance drones? From who?" "Unknown. But the technology is far beyond anything humans have built. Whoever made these has been watching us, studying us. The drones have been collecting data on our military installations, our population centers, even our agricultural systems." Boram interrupted from her station. "Commander, the voice analysis is complete. The speaker is human. But there are some strange elements. The accent patterns match no known Earth region. It is as if someone learned Korean perfectly but never lived among Korean speakers." Hyunwoo stared at the data. A human ship that did not exist had somehow escaped a barrier that had contained humanity for centuries. Alien drones had been studying Earth for years. Nothing made sense. "So young, could the barrier be failing naturally?" he asked. "Impossible. The quantum resonance is as strong as ever. If anything, it has been getting stronger over the past decade. Someone would have to deliberately weaken it from the outside." The implications hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. The barrier was not a natural phenomenon. Someone had built it to keep humans contained. Someone with technology far beyond Earth's capabilities had been studying humanity like animals in a cage. "Boram, try to trace the transmission source. I want to know exactly where that signal came from." Boram worked for several minutes before shaking her head. "The signal bounced off 17 different relay points before reaching us. Whoever sent it does not want to be found. But, Commander, there is something else. The transmission included encrypted data files, military-grade encryption, but using Earth protocols. Can you break the encryption?" "Already working on it. The files are large. Ship specifications, star charts, something that looks like diplomatic correspondence. Commander, if this is real, then Captain Tae-min has been in contact with alien civilizations." So-young's voice came through the speakers. "Hyunwoo, I am reading massive energy fluctuations near the barrier's edge. Something big is happening, out there." Before Hyunwoo could respond, every alarm on the station began screaming. The long-range sensors detected multiple objects approaching at incredible speed. Bo-Ram's hands flew across her controls as she tried to identify the contacts. "Commander, we have 12 ships approaching from outside the barrier. They are not human designs. Estimated arrival in 4 hours." Hyunwoo activated the emergency protocols. Throughout the solar system, Earth Defense Forces received orders to prepare for possible first contact. Every ship, every station, every planetary defense grid went to maximum alert. "Bo-Ram, did you break that encryption?" "Just finished, Commander. You need to see this." The main screen filled with star charts showing vast territories beyond the solar system. Hundreds of worlds were marked with different symbols and colors. A legend identified dozens of alien species: the Nexari Empire, the Vorthak Collective, the Ethereal Domains, and many others. But most shocking was the large red zone surrounding Earth's solar system with the label Terran Containment Protocol, Level 9 Restriction. "We are in a quarantine zone," Hyunwoo whispered. The diplomatic files were even more disturbing. They contained discussions between alien governments about humanity's dangerous potential and the need to maintain containment. Phrases like adaptive aggression, technological acceleration, and cultural contamination risk appeared repeatedly. One document made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. It was titled Assessment of Terran Combat Capability Based on Intercepted Entertainment. Media! The aliens had been studying human movies, television shows, and video games to understand human warfare tactics. Their conclusion was that humans were the most militarily creative species they had ever encountered. "So Young, are you seeing this data?" "Yes, and it explains everything. The reconnaissance drones, the meteor showers, even the strengthening of the barrier. They have been preparing for something. The question is what?" Bo-Ram looked up from her station with a pale face. "Commander, I am receiving another transmission from Captain Tae-min. He says the approaching ships are not hostile. They are refugees." "Refugees from what?" "From the Galactic Council. Captain Tae-min says there are alien species who disagree with keeping humans contained. They have been secretly helping him escape and learn about galactic civilization. The Council found out and declared them traitors. Now they are fleeing to Earth seeking protection." Hyunwoo stared at the approaching ships on his tactical display. In a few hours, representatives of alien civilizations would arrive at Earth, asking for sanctuary. The same civilizations that had kept humanity trapped for centuries contained species who risked everything to set humans free. "Bo-Ram, open a channel to Earth Command. Tell them we need Admiral Dong-hyun up here immediately. Also contact the President and the Science Council. We are about to make first contact, and these aliens are asking for our protection. Commander, there is one more file in the data package. It is labeled Warning for Earth Leadership. Play it." Captain Taemin's voice filled the bridge again, but this time it carried urgency and fear. "The Galactic Council has maintained your containment for 300 years because they fear what humans might become if released into the galaxy. But containment is failing. Your people's natural abilities are too strong to be suppressed. Forever. The Council has decided that if they cannot contain humanity, they will eliminate the threat entirely. A battle fleet is being assembled. You have perhaps 6 months before they arrive to destroy Earth completely. The refugees coming to you now are your only allies in what is about to become a war for human survival." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars that had always seemed peaceful and distant. Now they hid alien empires that saw humanity as a threat so dangerous that genocide was preferable to freedom. "Bo-Ram, send a priority. Message to every human settlement in the solar system. Tell them that the age of isolation is over. We are about to learn what humanity is truly capable of when our backs are against the wall." As the alien refugee ships approached Earth, Hyunwoo realized that everything was about to change. Humanity had been contained not because they were weak, but because they were powerful in ways they had never imagined. Now they would discover just how powerful they really were. Lieutenant Hye-jin adjusted her dress uniform for the 10th time as she stood in the airlock of Earth's first diplomatic vessel. Through the small window, she could see the alien refugee ships hanging in space like massive sculptures of metal and crystal. Each ship was different, representing species she had never imagined could exist. 3 weeks had passed since the refugees arrived at Earth. The first meetings had been tense and strange, conducted through translation devices that sometimes failed to capture meaning. But gradually, trust began to form. The aliens were genuinely seeking protection, and they brought knowledge that changed everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. Captain Taemin turned out to be human after all, but not from Earth. He was a descendant of humans who had been secretly taken from Earth centuries ago by sympathetic aliens. Hidden colonies of humans existed throughout the galaxy, most unaware of their origins. The Galactic Council had been so afraid of human potential that they had tried to study it by raising humans in controlled environments. "Lieutenant, Ambassador Young-ho is ready to begin the formal negotiations," said Communications Officer Min-soo. From his station, Hee-jin nodded and activated her recording device. Every word of these meetings would be studied by Earth's leaders for years to come. She followed Ambassador Young-ho through the corridors of the alien ship called Harmony's Edge, marveling at the organic curves of the walls and the soft light. That seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The conference room was enormous, with a ceiling that showed a perfect recreation of space. Representatives from 6 alien species sat around a circular table, each as strange and wonderful as the last. There were the reptilian Nexari, with their scaled skin and intelligent golden eyes, the crystalline Vorthok, whose bodies reflected light in rainbow patterns, and the floating gas forms called ethereals, who spoke in harmonious tones that felt more like music than words. Ambassador Young-ho took his seat with dignity, but Hye-jin could see the wonder in his eyes. He was a career diplomat who had spent 40 years preparing for meetings that everyone assumed would never happen. "Honored representatives," Young-ho began, "Earth extends its gratitude for the knowledge you have shared and the risks you have taken to reach us. We understand that helping humanity has put your own people in danger." The Nexari representative, who called himself Guide Shentar, spoke first. His voice came through the translation device with mechanical precision. "Ambassador Young-ho, you must understand that your species represents something unprecedented in galactic history. Every other civilization developed along specialized evolutionary paths. My people, the Nexari, are master engineers and builders. We can construct vessels that last for millennia and cities that house billions. But we cannot adapt quickly to new situations, and we struggle with creative problem-solving." The Vorthak representative added, "My people are scientists and researchers. We have unlocked the secrets of space and time, energy and matter, but we think in slow, methodical ways. Innovation takes us centuries to achieve. We cannot respond rapidly to threats or opportunities." The ethereal's musical voice filled the room. "We are philosophers and peacekeepers. We have studied the nature of existence for millions of years and achieved perfect harmony within our societies. But we are fragile and cannot survive in harsh environments. We require specific conditions to live." Young-ho leaned forward with interest. "And humans are different?" Guide Shentar's golden eyes fixed on the ambassador. "Humans are generalists. You can fight like warriors, build like engineers, discover like scientists, and create like artists. You adapt to any environment and overcome any challenge. Most disturbing to the Council, you do all of these things at the same time." Dr. Yoon-ji, Earth's leading anthropologist, had been given special permission to attend the meetings. She had been studying the cultural data the refugees provided and made discoveries that shocked even her. She spoke up from her position at the table. "Guide Shentar, the historical records you have shared show something remarkable. Every major advancement in galactic civilization over the past 3 centuries corresponds exactly with human broadcasts from Earth. When we developed computers, galactic technology suddenly improved. When we created the Internet, alien communication networks became more sophisticated. When we began genetic engineering, alien medical science made breakthrough discoveries." The ethereal's tone became sad and beautiful. "Dr. Yoon-ji speaks truth. That brings shame to our civilizations. We have been learning from your people's transmissions for centuries. Your music taught us new forms of expression. Your stories showed us possibilities we had never considered. Your mathematical concepts solved problems we had struggled with for millennia." Young-ho sat back in his chair, processing this revelation. "You are telling us that galactic civilization has been advancing by studying humanity in secret?" "Not Just studying, said the Vorthak representative. Copying, imitating, stealing, if we are honest. Your species produces innovations in decades that take our civilizations centuries to achieve. The Galactic Council saw this as both an opportunity and a threat. Haya Jin activated her recording device's priority function. This information was too important to risk losing. She watched as Young Ho struggled with the implications of what they were learning. If human creativity and adaptability are so valuable, Young Ho asked, why did the Council choose containment instead of cooperation? Guide Shentar's expression became grim. Because cooperation requires treating humans as equals. The Council's power structure depends on each species remaining in their specialized roles. Humans would disrupt that balance. Your people would not be content to be just warriors or just scientists or just diplomats. You would want to be everything. Dr. Yunji had been taking notes throughout the conversation, but now she looked up with sudden understanding. The Council was not afraid that humans would conquer the galaxy. They were afraid that humans would change it. Precisely, said the ethereal. Human contact would encourage other species to grow beyond their traditional limitations. The rigid order that has maintained galactic stability for millions of years would collapse. Some Council members see this as evolution. Others see it as destruction. Young Ho asked the question that Hye Jin knew everyone on Earth was wondering. What would happen if humans were released into the galaxy tomorrow? The Vorthak representative's crystalline form flickered with different colors as it considered the answer. Unknown. No species like humans has ever existed in galactic civilization. The closest comparison would be the Great Chaos Period 7 million years ago, when the first spacefaring civilizations met and transformed each other through contact. But even then, the changes took millennia. Human influence would create changes in decades or years. Is that why the Council has decided to destroy Earth? Guide Shentar nodded gravely. The hardline faction believes that human influence would destroy galactic civilization. They would rather commit genocide than risk the chaos of rapid change. The moderate faction argues for continued containment with limited study. Only a small group supports full integration. Yejin felt a chill run down her spine. The fate of humanity hung on an alien political debate between genocide and eternal imprisonment, with only a few voices arguing for freedom. Dr. Yunji had been studying the cultural data files during the conversation, and suddenly her eyes went wide. Ambassador, I need to share something immediately. The data shows that the refugee species have been changing since they began helping Captain Taemin. The Nexari have developed new creative abilities. The Vorthak have started making rapid innovations. The Ethereals have begun adapting to harsh environments. The alien representatives exchanged glances that suggested this was something they had hoped to keep secret. Dr. Eunji is correct, admitted Guide Shentar. Exposure to human thinking and problem-solving has already begun to change our people. We are becoming more adaptable, more creative, more willing to take risks. The Council's fears may be justified. Young Ho leaned forward intently. But are the changes positive or negative? Positive, said all three representatives simultaneously. The Ethereal's musical voice carried joy and excitement. For the first time in millions of years, my people are growing. We are discovering new ways of thinking and being. The Council calls this contamination, but we call it evolution. Young Ho stood and walked to the window showing space. Earth hung in the distance, a blue jewel surrounded by human ships and alien refugees. Then we have a choice to make. We can accept containment and preserve the existing galactic order, or we can choose freedom and change everything. Guide Shentar rose as well, his scaled form towering over the human diplomat. Ambassador Young Ho, there is something else you must know. The refugee fleet that brought us here represents only a small fraction of the species who secretly support human integration. Throughout the galaxy, there are civilizations who have grown tired of stagnation and specialization. They are waiting to see what Earth decides. How many? Perhaps half of all galactic civilizations. The Council claims to speak for the galaxy, but they represent mainly the oldest and most conservative species. Many younger civilizations have been watching human broadcasts and dreaming of the possibilities that cooperation might bring. Captain Sora guided her exploration ship Discovery through the asteroid field at the edge of the Sigma Draconis system, deliberately ignoring the Council restrictions that prohibited human vessels from independent exploration. 2 months had passed since the crisis at New Andromeda Station, and Earth had decided that waiting for official permission was no longer acceptable. If humanity was going to survive in galactic society, they needed to understand it completely. "Captain, I am detecting artificial structures in the third asteroid cluster," reported sensor technician Han Sol. "Multiple species technology signatures, but they are not in the Council database." Sora adjusted her ship's course toward the readings. The briefings from Earth Command had suggested that the official galactic civilization might only represent a fraction of what actually existed in the galaxy. If there were hidden civilizations that the Council did not control, humanity needed to know about them. "Take us in slowly, Han Sol. Active scans only if they detect us first. I want to observe before we make contact." What they found changed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. Hidden inside the hollowed-out asteroid was a thriving city where dozens of different alien species lived and worked together. Ships of wildly different designs shared docking facilities. Markets sold goods from across the galaxy. Children of various species played together in communal areas. "Captain, we are receiving a greeting transmission," reported Communications Officer Sang Woo. "Multiple languages, but they are not using Council standard protocols. They sound friendly." The transmission was indeed welcoming, offering assistance and inviting the human ship to dock. Sora made the decision that would reshape galactic politics. "All stop, Sang Woo. Send a response using our standard first contact protocols. Tell them we are explorers from Earth seeking knowledge and friendship." As the Discovery docked at the asteroid station, Sora and her crew became the first humans to make contact with what they would later learn was the Hidden Galaxy, a loose confederation of species that had rejected the Council's rigid hierarchical structure in favor of cooperation and mutual development. The station commander who greeted them was a being unlike any in the Council databases, with translucent skin that showed flowing patterns of light beneath. When they spoke, their voice carried music and harmony. "Welcome, travelers from Earth," they said. "I am harmony singer Lux Ara of the Cooperative Worlds. We have been hoping for this meeting for many years." Sora was surprised. "You know of Earth? Your people's broadcasts have reached us, just as they reached the Council species. But unlike the Council, we have been inspired by what we learned. Your music, your stories, your dreams of exploration and cooperation. They showed us possibilities we had never imagined." Dr. Jin Wook, the mission's xenobiologist, stepped forward with barely contained excitement. "Commander Luxara, are you saying that there are entire civilizations that the Council does not control?" Luxara's light patterns shifted to what seemed like amusement. "Dr. Jin Wook, the Council represents perhaps 30% of the intelligent species in this region of the galaxy. They are the most aggressive and territorial civilizations, but they are not the majority. Most species chose different paths of development." Over the following days, Sora and her team learned about a completely different approach to galactic civilization. The cooperative worlds had no central government or rigid hierarchies. Instead, they shared resources, knowledge, and technology freely. Species that had been enemies for millennia worked together on massive projects that benefited everyone. Ambassador Sun He, who had joined the mission specifically to study alternative governmental structures, was amazed by what she observed. "Commander Luxara, how do you resolve conflicts between species with such different needs and values?" "Through adaptation and compromise," Luxara replied. When the gas-form nebula dancers needed rare minerals that the crystalline resonance builders considered sacred, we found ways to synthesize the minerals artificially, while the builders taught the dancers to appreciate the spiritual significance of the original deposits. Both species grew from the experience. Dr. Jin Wook discovered that the biological diversity of the cooperative worlds was far greater than anything the Council controlled. Species had been sharing genetic knowledge, and even hybridizing when compatible, creating new forms of life adapted to specific environments and purposes. The rigid species classifications that the Council maintained simply did not exist here. "Dr. Jin Wook," Luxara explained, "evolution does not stop when a species reaches space. We believe that intelligent life should continue growing and changing. Through cooperation and synthesis, the Council fears change, so they try to freeze each species in their current form forever. The revelation that reshaped everything came when Admiral Wu Jin arrived with a small Earth fleet to reinforce Sora's mission. The Council had been demanding that Earth retrieve their unauthorized exploration vessel, threatening military action if humans continued to violate territorial boundaries. "Captain Sora," Admiral Wu Jin said via secure transmission, "Earth Command needs to know exactly what you have found out there. The Council is claiming that you have made contact with dangerous rebel civilizations that threaten galactic stability." Sora invited Admiral Wu Jin to meet with the cooperative leadership and see the truth for himself. What he discovered was that the so-called rebels were actually refugees from Council oppression, species that had fled the rigid hierarchical system to build something better. "Admiral Wu Jin," explained Luxara during the meeting, "the Council maintains power by keeping species isolated and specialized. They teach that cooperation leads to chaos and that mixing different civilizations creates instability. But look around you. We have achieved peace and prosperity through exactly the cooperation they claim is impossible." Strategist Ye Jin, who had accompanied Admiral Wu Jin to analyze the political implications, realized the significance immediately. "Admiral, if the Council represents a minority of galactic civilization, then their claims about maintaining order and stability are false. They are not protecting the galaxy from chaos. They are preventing the galaxy from achieving its full potential." The meeting was interrupted by urgent communications from both Earth and the Council. The hardline faction that had threatened Earth was mobilizing again, claiming that human contact with the cooperative worlds proved their fears about cultural contamination. They were demanding that the cooperative species surrender all humans immediately or face military action. "They are using Earth as an excuse to attack us," Luxara said sadly. "This has been building for centuries. The Council hardliners have always wanted to eliminate the cooperative worlds, but they needed a justification that would unite the moderate Council species behind military action." Admiral Wu Jin saw the tactical situation clearly. "They are planning to use the threat of human influence to justify conquering the entire galaxy. Earth becomes their excuse for eliminating any civilization that challenges their authority." Ye Jin had been studying the political and military data throughout the crisis, and now she proposed something that would change galactic history. "Admiral, what if we refuse to be their excuse? What if instead of choosing between the Council and the cooperative worlds, we offer a third option?" "What kind of third option?" "Integration," Ye Jin said. "The Council fears that human influence will cause other species to grow beyond their traditional limitations. The cooperative worlds embrace change and growth. What if we could show both sides that controlled evolution is possible? That species can grow and change without losing their identity or creating chaos?" Luxara's light patterns showed intense interest. "Strategist Ye Jin, are you proposing that humanity serve as mediators between our civilizations?" "More than that. I am proposing that we create integration zones where species from both the Council and cooperative worlds can meet and learn from each other safely. Humans would not impose our ways on anyone, but we would teach the techniques of adaptation and compromise that have allowed our species to survive and thrive." Admiral Wu Jin considered the proposal carefully. It was ambitious beyond anything Earth had ever attempted, but it also offered a path between the two extremes of galactic civilization. "Strategist Ye Jin, do you believe this could work?" "Admiral, human history shows that our greatest achievements come from bringing different groups together and finding common ground. We have done it with different nations, different cultures, different belief systems. Why not different species?" Luxara spoke for the cooperative leadership. "Admiral Wu Jin, if Earth is willing to serve as a bridge between our civilizations, the cooperative worlds will support your proposal completely. We have been seeking peaceful contact with Council species for millennia." The communication from Earth Command arrived as they were discussing implementation details. The Council had issued an ultimatum. Earth must choose between Council membership, under strict limitations, or complete isolation with possible military action. They had 72 hours to decide. "Admiral," said Captain Sora, "Earth Command is asking for our recommendation. Do we submit to Council control, fight for independence, or try to find another solution?" Admiral Dong Hyun stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the diplomatic vessel New Seoul, as it approached the massive space station called New Andromeda. The station was larger than any human city, stretching across hundreds of kilometers and housing billions of beings from across the galaxy. After months of preparation and negotiation through the refugee allies, Earth had finally been granted permission to send an official delegation to the galactic capital. Chief Diplomat Nara reviewed her notes one final time as the station grew larger in the viewing screens. The briefings from the refugee species had prepared them for what to expect, but seeing the reality of galactic civilization was still overwhelming. Ships of every imaginable design moved around the station like schools of metalfish, each representing technologies and cultures that had developed over millions of years. "Admiral, we are receiving docking instructions," reported Navigation Officer Woo Sung. "They are assigning us to Diplomatic Bay 7. The welcoming committee will meet us in 2 hours." Dong Hyun nodded and activated the ship's communication system. "All delegation members, prepare for historic first contact. Remember that everything we do and say will be studied by both human and alien governments for centuries. We represent not just Earth, but the future of human-alien relations." Engineer Ki Tae was already studying the technical readouts from the station's systems. As the ship's chief engineer, he had volunteered to examine alien technology and determine what humans might learn from it. What he was seeing on his screens amazed and puzzled him. "Admiral, their technology is incredibly advanced, but also strangely limited," Kite reported. "Their power systems are more efficient than anything we have built, but the designs are millions of years old with no significant improvements. It is as if they perfected their technology once and then stopped innovating." The docking process took 3 hours because the station's systems were not designed for human ships. Every species had their own docking protocols, communication frequencies, and safety procedures. The station managed this complexity through rigid standardization that left little room for adaptation or change. When the airlocks finally connected, the human delegation found themselves facing a welcoming committee of 12 alien representatives. Each wore elaborate ceremonial clothing and carried symbols of their species' authority. The greeting ceremony lasted 2 hours and involved rituals that had remained unchanged for millennia. Nara handled the formal introductions with practiced diplomacy, but she could sense the aliens' curiosity and caution. They had never dealt with a species quite like humans, and the traditional protocols were inadequate for the situation. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," Nara began, "Earth extends greetings and gratitude for this opportunity to join galactic civilization. We come in peace and friendship, eager to learn and contribute to the greater community of worlds." The lead representative, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, spoke through a translation device. "I am Council Prime Veltar of the Central Authority. Earth's delegation is welcome, but we must address the unusual circumstances of your arrival. Never before has a contained species broken quarantine and demanded inclusion in galactic society." General Su Jin, Earth's military representative, stepped forward. "Council Prime Veltar, with respect, Earth did not break quarantine. Our people were freed by galactic citizens who believed containment was wrong. We come not as invaders, but as invited guests." The silver-skinned alien's expression was unreadable, but the translation device conveyed displeasure. The actions of the refugee species were illegal under galactic law. They have been stripped of their citizenship and face charges of contamination and sedition. Cultural attaché In-ho had been studying galactic law during the journey, and this statement confirmed his worst fears. The council did not see the refugees as freedom fighters, but as criminals. More importantly, they viewed human influence as a form of contamination that threatened galactic order. "Council Prime," In-ho said carefully, "Earth requests clarification of the charges against our allies. In human law, helping people achieve freedom is considered moral and legal. We do not understand how offering assistance could be a crime. Your people think in terms of individual freedom, Veltar replied. Galactic law prioritizes collective stability. The refugee species endangered billions of lives by releasing a force they could not control. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another group of aliens, these wearing simpler clothing and carrying technical equipment instead of ceremonial symbols. Their leader was a crystalline being whose body reflected the station's lights in complex patterns. Council Prime Veltar. Forgive the interruption, the crystalline being said. I am Chief Engineer Colvex of the station technical staff. The human ship's arrival has created unusual resonance patterns in our docking systems. We request permission to examine their technology. Veltar appeared annoyed by the interruption, but nodded consent. Colvex approached Kite with obvious excitement. Human. Engineer, your ship's power signature is unlike anything in our databases. How did you achieve such efficiency with such simple components? Kite looked confused. Simple? Our fusion reactors are the most advanced technology Earth has ever built. But they use basic matter conversion principles that our people abandoned millions of years ago as too primitive. Yet your implementation achieves better results than our current systems. How is this possible? As Kite began explaining human engineering approaches, more alien technicians gathered around. Their questions became increasingly excited, and their voices grew louder. Veltar watched with growing concern as the humans drew crowds of interested aliens. Human engineer, interrupted Veltar. These technical discussions should be conducted through proper diplomatic channels. Unauthorized technology sharing violates multiple galactic regulations. Nara sensed an opportunity and stepped forward. Diplomatically. Council Prime, surely examining each other's achievements is beneficial to all species. Earth would be honored to learn from galactic technology while sharing our own innovations. Sharing technology is not the concern, Veltar replied coldly. The concern is the effect your methods have on our people. In the past hour, our engineers have proposed 17 improvements to station systems that have operated unchanged for 3 million years. This is exactly the kind of disruption that containment was designed to prevent. General Sujin realized they were witnessing the core problem. Humans did not just bring new technology, they brought new ways of thinking that made other species question their traditional approaches. The Council saw this as a threat to order and stability. Council Prime, Sujin said, is it possible that questioning traditional approaches might lead to beneficial changes? Human history shows that innovation often comes from examining old problems with new perspectives. The crystalline engineer Colvex spoke up before Veltar could respond. General Sujin is correct. In 1 hour of discussion with your engineer, my people have identified solutions to problems we had accepted as unsolvable for millennia. This is not disruption. This is progress. Veltar's silver skin seemed to darken with anger. Chief Engineer Colvex, you will report to the Council Disciplinary Committee for unauthorized collaboration with an uncleared species. This conversation demonstrates exactly why human influence is dangerous. Inho watched the exchange with growing understanding. The Council was not afraid that humans would conquer the galaxy through military force. They were afraid that humans would change the galaxy through inspiration and example. The existing power structure depended on each species staying in their traditional roles and not questioning the established order. Council Prime, Inho said, may I ask what would happen if galactic species began cooperating more closely and sharing innovations freely? Chaos, Veltar replied immediately. The stability of galactic civilization depends on predictable specialization. Each species has their role and function. When species attempt to exceed their natural limitations, conflict and instability result. Nara saw the fundamental disagreement clearly now. The Council valued stability and order above all else, while humans valued growth and change. These were not necessarily incompatible goals, but they required different approaches to civilization. Council Prime. What if stability could be maintained, while still allowing for controlled innovation and growth? What if changes could be managed gradually rather than suppressed entirely? Before Veltar could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed, and automated voices announced a security alert in dozens of languages. A new alien rushed into the diplomatic bay, this one covered in fur with large eyes adapted for night vision. Council Prime, urgent report from the outer sensor arrays. A massive fleet has been detected approaching the system. Military configuration, unknown origin, estimated arrival in 18 hours. Veltar's expression changed from annoyance to fear. Classification of the fleet? Unknown, Council Prime. The ships use technology signatures we have never encountered. They appear to be armed for planetary bombardment. General Sujin felt ice form in her stomach. Council Prime. Could this be the Council battle fleet that was mentioned in the refugee intelligence? The fleet assembled T. Fleet Commander Do Yun stood on the bridge of the newly constructed station New Seoul as ships from dozens of species approached through space. 6 months had passed since Earth announced the Terran Gambit, and the galaxy had split into 3 distinct factions, just as strategist Ye Jin had predicted. The integration zones were humanity's answer to galactic conflict, places where different civilizations could meet and learn from each other without the rigid hierarchies of the Council or the complete freedom of the cooperative worlds. Commander, we have arrival confirmation from the Nexari engineering fleet, the Vorthak research vessels, and the Ethereal Diplomatic Corps, reported Communications Director Yoon Suk. The first integration zone is officially operational. Do Yun watched as ships that had never shared the same space before began docking at the massive station. Nexari engineers worked alongside human technicians to improve docking systems. Vorthak. Scientists collaborated with cooperative researchers on new energy technologies. Ethereal philosophers engaged in discussions with Earth diplomats about the nature of peaceful coexistence. Yoon Suk. What is the latest report from the other integration zones? Mixed results, Commander. The zone at Alpha Centauri is showing remarkable success. 7 species have established permanent research colonies and are sharing technological advances freely. But the zone near Rigel had to be evacuated after hardline Council forces attacked it. The attacks were not unexpected. War Marshal Sung Ho had warned Earth Command that the Council hardliners would not accept the integration zones peacefully. They saw human influence as a contamination that had to be stopped before it spread throughout the galaxy. Dr. Hei Wan's voice came through the communication system from her laboratory deep within the station. Commander Do Yun, I need to report a breakthrough discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about species development. Do Yun activated the internal communication link. Go ahead, Dr. Hei Wan. Commander, after months of studying genetic and cultural data from dozens of species, I have discovered something remarkable. Humans are not actually unique in our adaptability and potential for growth. Every species in the galaxy has the same fundamental capacity for evolution beyond their apparent limitations. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. If Dr. Hei Wan was correct, then the entire foundation of galactic civilization was based on a false assumption. Dr. Hei Wan, are you saying that the specialization of galactic species is artificial? Not artificial, but self-imposed. Each species developed cultural and social structures that encouraged certain abilities, while discouraging others. Over millions of years, they convinced themselves that their limitations were natural and permanent. But the genetic potential for adaptation exists in all of them. Du Yun realized that this discovery could either end the galactic conflict or make it infinitely worse. If species could grow beyond their traditional roles, then the Council's entire power structure was threatened. But it also meant that the changes they feared were not contamination, but natural evolution that had been suppressed for eons. The communication alert interrupted his thoughts. Commander, urgent transmission from Earth. War Marshal Seung-ho reports that the hegemony has launched a full-scale assault on Integration Zone 7. They are demanding that all human personnel be surrendered immediately. The hegemony was the coalition of council hardliners who had decided that humanity represented an existential threat to galactic order. They had been building their forces for months, claiming that human influence was causing dangerous instability throughout their territories. Yoon-suk, get me a direct link to War Marshal Seung-ho. Seung-ho's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. Behind him, tactical displays showed the locations of hegemony fleets throughout the galaxy. Commander Do-yun, the situation is worse than we anticipated. The hegemony is not just attacking the integration zones. They are targeting any species that has shown signs of evolutionary change after contact with humans. This has become a war to preserve the old galactic order at any cost. Do-yun studied the tactical displays. The hegemony forces were vast, representing the combined military might of the galaxy's most aggressive species. But the opposition was fragmented between council moderates, cooperative worlds, and the emerging Integration Zone Alliance. War Marshal, what are our chances in a direct military confrontation? Minimal. The hegemony has superior numbers and more advanced weapons. Technology. Our only advantages are adaptability and the fact that our allies are more motivated than their conscripted forces. Director Mi-young's voice came through the communication system from Earth Command. War Marshal Seung-ho, Commander Do-yun, I have authorization to implement Protocol Genesis if the situation becomes critical. Do-yun had heard rumors about Protocol Genesis, but never learned the details. Director Mi-young, what exactly is Protocol Genesis? The complete sharing of human adaptability techniques with every species willing to learn. Not just technology or tactics, but the fundamental approach to growth and change that has made humanity successful. It is our ultimate weapon against stagnation and our greatest gift to the galaxy. Seung-ho looked troubled. Director, that would cause exactly the kind of rapid change that the hegemony fears most. It could destabilize every civilization in the galaxy. War Marshal, the alternative is allowing the hegemony to destroy every species that refuses to remain locked in their traditional limitations. At least with Protocol Genesis, the changes would be controlled and voluntary. The decision was taken out of their hands when the hegemony attacked New Sol Station directly. Hundreds of warships emerged from hyperspace and immediately began bombarding the Integration Zone's defenses. All stations, battle alert, Do-yun commanded. Launch all defensive fighters and activate emergency protocols. The battle that followed became known as the ignition point, the moment when the old galactic order finally collapsed completely. Human fighters worked alongside Nexari engineering ships to repair battle damage in real time. Vorthak science vessels used their advanced sensors to coordinate defensive fire. Ethereal ships provided support and rescued civilians from damaged stations. But the most important part of the battle happened in Dr. Hae-won's laboratory, where she broadcast Protocol Genesis to every species in the combat zone. All beings. This is Dr. Hae-won of Earth. You are about to receive information that will change how you understand your own potential. The limitations you believe are natural are actually learned behaviors that can be unlearned. You have the capacity to grow beyond anything your species has achieved before. Use this knowledge to defend yourselves and build something better than what came before. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Nexari engineers suddenly began improvising new weapons designs in the middle of battle. Vorthak scientists started adapting their research equipment for military purposes. Ethereal philosophers used their deep understanding of psychology to coordinate complex tactical maneuvers. Even more dramatically, species that had been fighting for the hegemony began switching sides as they realized they had been suppressing their own potential for millions of years. Commander, I am receiving surrender requests from 17 hegemony vessels, reported Yunsuk. Their crews are asking for asylum and requesting access to Protocol Genesis data. The battle ended not with military victory, but with mass defection. As news of Protocol Genesis spread throughout the galaxy, entire civilizations began questioning the assumptions that had limited them for eons. Over the following months, the rigid specializations that had defined galactic society for millions of years began dissolving. Species that had been warriors for eons discovered abilities in art and science. Civilizations that had focused solely on research began exploring philosophy and culture. The galaxy entered a period of unprecedented growth and change. President Chan Ho of the new Galactic Adaptation Council delivered humanity's first State of the Galaxy address from Earth, speaking to an audience of billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Citizens of the galaxy, 6 months ago we were strangers, separated by fear and misunderstanding. Today we are partners in the greatest adventure in cosmic history. We did not come to conquer the stars. We came to teach them to shine brighter. Together, we will build a civilization based not on limitation and fear, but on growth and possibility. 10 years later, explorer Kyung-Soo commanded the first mixed-species expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy, carrying a simple message of hope and cooperation. The galaxy that had once been divided by rigid hierarchies and ancient conflicts had become a beacon of what intelligent life could achieve when it refused to accept limitations as permanent. The restraint was over. The galaxy burned not with war, but with the fire of unlimited potential finally set free. Humanity had not conquered the stars. They had taught the stars to conquer themselves. As Kyung-Soo's ship disappeared into hyperspace toward distant galaxies, Earth received its first transmission from civilizations beyond the Milky Way, drawn by the light of a galaxy that had learned to grow. The age of expansion had begun, and this time everyone would grow together.